Welcome to the AI Monday. Today our topic is generative AI and the art of storytelling. And we're here to talk about what Gen AI means for media and maybe the society in a larger sense also. We're organizing this AI Monday together with the FCAI, and so I welcome Patrik, Floréen to give a couple of words from FCAI's side.
First it was silent and now it's very loud. Okay, good. Thanks, Hugo. So I'm Patrik Floréen from the Finnish Center for Artificial Intelligence, which is a flagship. So a flagship means, in this case, that the Academy of Finland is funding us for a long period, 8 years. And we are doing research and industrial collaboration and societal impact in the area of artificial intelligence. The main organizers in FCAI are University of Helsinki, where you are here today in the Science Corner, Aalto University and VTT. And we also have, how should I say, fringe activities related to industry in the form of FAIR, the Finnish AI region, which is also an EU-funded project aimed at helping small and medium-sized enterprises on their road to use artificial intelligence. So if you are here, a small and medium-sized enterprise person, and you're interested in this, go to our webpage, FAIREDI, so FAIREDIH.fi, and you will find information there on how to reach us. We had the kickoff of FAIR in this very place about a month ago. And what is this Finnish AI region? Well, the region is the whole of Finland, so it doesn't matter where you are. And the EDIs, the European Digital Innovation Hubs, are in every EU country, so we are actually a network of organizations like this. So this was the information I wanted to give you. If you're a small or medium-sized enterprise, go and look up what the FAIR EDI is about. And now I think it's time to go to the real program, so thanks for my part.
Okay, thank you. So today the agenda looks like this. I'm going to give a bit of an introduction to generative AI. What is that? Then we have Aki Kekäläinen from Yle talking about AI and news. Then we have Päivi Ala-Risku from Helsingin Sanomat, HS. How can GenAI benefit journalists and most importantly the readers? And finally we have AI and art from Antti Karppinen coming from the stream in here. After that we'll have a panel discussion, and if you have some questions for any of the people who talk out here, you can have those right after their talks in there. So now, a bit of an introduction to generative AI, but first I'll introduce myself. My name is Hugo Gävert. I'm from DAIN Studios. I'm the Chief AI and Data Officer in DAIN Studios, meaning that I lead the technical tribe in our company. I've been doing data science for 20 plus years, and so this is a fairly interesting time for me because we're taking huge leaps on this area at the moment. DAIN Studios is a small AI and data and AI consultancy company. We're 80 people, and we have bases here in Helsinki, as well as Berlin and Munich, and a small base also in Vienna. We do everything from data strategy projects to operating models, trainings, data platforms, and of course those AI projects, implementing those. But enough about that. Let's go into the topic, what is AI? So currently, the AIs that we have, there are algorithms that can do one single thing, and they can do it that well. They can do it better than humans can do it. So we're talking about artificial narrow intelligence. They're focusing on one single thing, and that's where we are. The next step would be for artificial general intelligence, where I think the AI should be able to communicate with us in a natural manner. It should learn to use maybe tools, and it should learn new things. And so This is a slide that I've been using for some time, but it's now maybe time to sort of rethink about this, because ChatGPT definitely can communicate to us in a human manner. GPT-4 is able to use tools, and there are sort of, how would I say, there are signs of emergent learnings that they have done. I will talk about what a large language model is, and based on that, it's really hard to understand some of the things that they are capable of. And so I'm not sure what's learning there, but I'll also show something that proves maybe that they're not sentient yet, though. Okay. I'm not going to go too much into what is deep learning, but I'll just say that in deep learning, we're talking about neural networks. Basically, deep means that it has a lot of layers, but typically nowadays, deep is also about the architecture, so how it's more, let's say, complex than it used to be 10, 20 years ago. So here's, for instance, a model that we developed at DAIN Studios, which takes CT and PET images, both are 3D, so slices from the human, and basically from the part where we have the heart in here. And based on that information, it's predicting whether this person has cardiac sarcoidosis, which is a fatal disease. And this is a fairly complicated network with all kinds of blocks, like residual blocks with attention in there, and so on and so on. So deep learning also means new kinds of architectures, and this is what the large language models are doing on their behalf. What is generative AI then? Well, actually, it's just an AI that generates different kind of contents easily, like text and images and so on. So what does it look like? Well, here, I'm not sure how well you see it. I guess you can see it fairly well. I asked ChatGPT to write a poem about generative AI, and it wrote a poem. In circuits of code, a world we ignite, GenAI whispers, dreams take flight. With algorithms and brushes, it paints a new creativity spark in each line it imbues. So it's doing fairly cool stuff. On image side, you can also generate images. This is a Christmas card that I was generating last Christmas, sort of doing backgrounds and putting text on top of that. So generative AI generating new stuff. How does the large language models work? It's actually very simple. It is predicting the next word. So here I started with the sentence, the best thing about AI is its ability to, and then I asked ChatGPT, what are the 5 most probable words that come after that, and what is the probability for those words? And this is what it gave out. So most probable word is to learn, and then adapt, and so on. So word by word, it's looking at what is maybe coming next. And this is what it does make those sentences. It adds a word at a time in there. And of course, it depends on which word you chose. You don't always choose the most probable one. You chose something from there. And so if you chose something else, it goes on to a different kind of a sentence from there. And lastly, there's this cool feedback loop down here in the bottom. So people can say whether that was a good feedback or bad feedback. And this goes into the training. So ChatGPT has been trained with internet until the end of 2021, something like that. But it's constantly being trained by this feedback loop, where people give feedback, and then it goes to reinforcement learning, and it's learning all the time. And this is the way how you can get bias out of that. So again, if you trained it with internet, you'll have all the biases of the world in the model. But this way you can get the bias out from there. It's really, really cool way to do this. So some examples how you can use generative AI. So on Saturday I was doing the slides and it was getting close to lunchtime, so I asked ChatGPT, I have this stuff in my fridge, what can I do for food from here? And it gave me 3 different dishes. I said, okay, the pasta looks good. Can I give more detailed thing about instructions about the pasta? It gave me the ingredients and the instructions on how to do that. Next step, I asked, can you give a prompt to give to Dalle? I copy-paste the prompt. I didn't even read it. Write to Dalle and asked for images, and these are the 4 images I got from my dishes. So I'm not sure if you should make cooking books anymore, because this is how you can get both the images and the recipes in there already. And so one way that you can use. Then some of the really interesting examples about the interesting ways that the models can work. So I asked who is the King of England, and of course at that time in September 2021, chatgpt didn't know about Charles. So I went to BBC, I copy-pasted the text from BBC into chatgpt to ask some questions about it. First thing I asked that, can you give me a summary of the article? And I got fairly nice summary coming out from there. And since we're in Finland here, I asked, can I get the summary in Finnish? And again, I got summary of the document that was originally in English. I got that summary in Finnish in here. Fairly same stuff. Of course, maybe I could have asked, can you just translate that? But it directly did this in here. Then the more sort of really interesting things, can you list all the places that King Charles visited? And I listed the places: Westminster Abbey, Buckingham Palace, and the Mall, which were all mentioned in the story. I asked for the list of people who are in there. And here I had to go and check, because it listed Emma Thompson there and Katy Perry, and yes, they were mentioned in the article. Interesting things like President Biden was mentioned, but also there's a mention that he didn't go there, he didn't travel there. As a data scientist, I started thinking, how would I do this myself? I would go collect a list of names, then I would collect a list of documents, probably from internet, from Wikipedia, try to find those names from there, start to build a neural network that understands in which context we have a name, and therefore it seems really, really difficult compared to just asking ChatGPT. I also asked, what are the royal artifacts in there? Imperial state crown, sovereign's orb, gilded sword of state. I don't know, maybe I should have all the Wikipedia and cross-reference the text against that so that I could get these answers from there. So this is really useful also from the data scientist point of view. One thing though caught my eye. There was this sword that I just mentioned. It was carried by Penny Mordaunt, and I asked who's carrying the sword, and it says, according to the article, Penny Mordaunt carried the sword ahead of King Charles. I don't know her, so I asked, who is she? Then it somehow got confused. Apologies for the error in my previous response. Well, actually there was no error. It's right there in the document. She carried the sword. So I asked, why did you mention, and I checked the list. She was not mentioned on the list. And then I asked, why did you, was she listed on the list there? And again, apologies for the confusion. Penny Mordaunt was not mentioned in the article you provided, but she was. And then I even asked, how do you know that Penny Mordaunt carried the sword? Because that was the first thing that it told me, and now it's completely lost. I don't know what happened here. So until this, it was really amazing things, and this is still amazing, but different kind of amazing. By the way, I asked if King Charles plays the cello, which is not mentioned in the article, and surprisingly, ChatGPT didn't know anything about that, but if you do the same thing in Google, you immediately see that, yeah, he does play the cello. Going back to the general intelligence, is it general intelligent? Can it plan ahead or reason or so on? I don't think so. This is a trick question that it did get wrong earlier on. So I asked, John's mother has 4 children. The three first ones are named January, February, and March. Originally it answered me April, which kind of makes sense, but obviously it's wrong. But now it gets this correct. But I found another question. I'll skip that one. I found another question about this. So I asked to write a sentence where the 4th word starts with Y and ends with S. It writes a sentence completely wrong. I asked whether whether the 4th word did start with this and so on. It says the no, writes me another sentence, which again is completely wrong. But it can list those words. There's a list of 5 words which start with Y and S. And then I asked, can you use one of those words to write a sentence where it's on the 4th? And again, it goes wrong. It's the 3rd word in there. Anyway, so I don't think it's sentient. Moving on to images. This is just to illustrate the advances in Midjourney, but I'll leave Antti to go into the details of the imaging processing. But I do want to show this next case, which is Angela and Barack Obama having amazing beach day. And so, I don't know what you guys think, but I think this is amazing. Maybe we'll talk about this on the panel later on. Anyways, here's still a bit of a list of what kind of things you can maybe do with GenAI in sort of company settings. You can do personalized messages easily. You can do social media posts. Of course, from the marketing side, you can still do the personalized messages in marketing, but that makes them ultra targeted. Maybe you can generate documentation out of your let's say code base, for instance. Code generation is also easy with GenAI. It can write ready-made functions for you directly without having to go to Stack Overflow on that. You can create chatbots that work 24/7 for your company. Maybe they can answer also only from your documents, not from the internet as it does now. This kind of a corporate knowledge semantic search does require some work to do, but totally possible with these things. On the image side, we can get synthetic images. You're going to see fabulous images today, actually, on this. And I think it's some of the benefits are that you don't have to go to the locations. They may be even impossible places that you can now generate as images. And maybe you can do these also personalized. Everybody gets their own image, for instance. Video is coming surely after the images. We already have some examples. The quality is not yet there, but that's just a matter of time when it comes in there. Audio, we can do text-to-speech. Just recently, you can find music videos or music songs made with fake voices, which is AI-generated voice. You can hear, for instance, Kurt Cobain sing something that, well, was done later than he died, unfortunately, and so on. All kinds of problems coming out of this. But I think maybe the main thing is that the generative AI is really good partner for sparring ideas and checking out, testing ideas and sort of taking your innovations forward, regardless of which ones of these you use. Maybe a couple of takeaways from here. So if you haven't tried, definitely go and log into ChatGPT, OpenAI, or go to Azure Playground. Try out Midjourney, DALL-E, and those things. These are really fun things to try. But do remember that don't put private information, for instance, into ChatGPT, because that by default that's used for training of the models. So don't copy paste your company internal stuff in there. Use the APIs or the playgrounds for that, and maybe think about trying out the open source models that you can run in your controlled environment. I don't know. Also remember that ChatGPT is definitely not always correct. But it does get most of the stuff really well in there. And I actually already a bit mentioned this. So going in a company setting, going beyond the chatting, I think you need to do a bit of engineering there, a bit of data science project in there, and scale it out. Get really benefits from that. Here are just some of the offering that DAIN Studios has on the GenAI. So we do prototyping, we do the larger solutions. We can even train your own LLMs. Actually, it's retraining those. We're not doing models that cost millions of dollars, or definitely not. And we have trainings for business and for instance, prompt engineering, as is very typical nowadays. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. This is just the intro to the topic. If you have some questions for me, I can we'll have probably time for one or two, maybe, and then we'll let Aki come in and talk about AI and news.
Hello, thanks Hugo. How do you keep yourself up to date what's happening? These things are progressing so rapidly that, you know, every day, every week.
It's difficult because I do sleep nowadays. Yeah, it's difficult. Every day. The last paper on the topic was actually mentioning that maybe transformers are not the last word. Maybe we go back to the convolutions, and that was maybe on a weekend or something. So yeah, it's going really fast. Any other questions? If not, then there's one. Yep.
Hi, Hugo, thanks. If it was corporate information, you mentioned APIs and Playground. Any further words on how to use, how to utilize private information?
By default, the OpenAI APIs do not use the data that you put in there for training models. It does keep it for some days to check for misuse. I don't know exactly what that might be. But also, it's really good to look into the Azure side because Microsoft has really made sure that the stuff is good for the corporates and data stays there, and you can even keep it in Europe if you want to have customer data in there. OpenAI servers are all in US. So definitely check out Azure.
Jukka Kolari, I write books about interesting subjects like AI, and for me, the keeping up with what's happening was easy until November last year. Until February, it was possible, and after that, I've been waiting for somebody to create an AI assistant, not like the assistants that we have at the moment, which are rubbish, but a good one which would have the summary ready in the morning when I wake up. I hope somebody does it. I can't.
Yeah, I feel that too, yes. Okay, I'll give the floor to Aki, and I guess you continue from here. Let's see if it comes from here. Yes, looks like it.
Okay, hello. Nice to have you here on a sunny day, and nice to have a sunny day after some not so sunny days last week when it was raining snow again. My name is Aki Kekäläinen. I come from Yle and from Yle's News and Current Affairs. I work in Yle News Lab, and I'm the head of democracy and digitalization. That means basically 3 different teams. The first one is about elections and democracy, for example, the election compass we do. The second one is AI and journalism, and I'm talking about that today. And the third one is collaboration and experiments. The third one is really important, like your question there. It's impossible to figure out everything by yourself, even know everything by yourself, even regarding just one technological area like AI. So we are finding partners to collaborate with and have ideas and try to figure out what to do to have an impact. I'm going to go back to 2016. We started this Voitto project. It didn't have a name, but on December we published Voitto for a couple of days between Christmas and New Year. Voitto did some stories about NHL. Voitto is not, this version of Voitto is not AI in a sense I would use AI. It's not machine learning code, it's just basically simple rules. How to create content based on data. Actually, the big part is not creating this kind of code. The big part is getting the data and making sure that the data flows and it's correct. But this is a funny story. I want to start with this. So this was a short experiment. The idea is just to test out, did it work? But there was one bug. This is the undoing of humanity. There will be one bug, and that's the bad one. So then we have Voittos taking over the world. Well, actually, Voitto is a really nice robot. It was important for us to do Voitto because we had to create this character because we have a picture for journalists. If you make a story, you have to write your name, have a small picture in the story. So we created Voitto as a character for those stories and gave him the name because Voitto, all Finns know what it means. In English, it's like victor or victory. I started with sports stories, so that was a really nice way of naming him. So these are our journalists. The oldest guy, some of you might know, the most legendary news anchor in Finland. When he retired, he was said to be the most experienced news anchor in the world, Arvi Lind. Anyways, we make this great puppet or plush toy of Voitto, and everybody likes Voitto because Voitto is a symbol for human and computer interaction, working together, not taking away jobs. Because we found out even in 5 years ago that it's really difficult to do some parts. Humans do it quite easily, but it's really easy as of today to do some parts that actually is quite boring and repetitious work. So Voitto's symbol and an idea and a tool for us to think about how humans and computers could work together and also create kind of ethical rules. It's easier to say that Voitto wouldn't do this or that than just say that this code shouldn't do this or that. Think of Disney, for example. There are rules that Donald Duck is going to do and not going to do. We are better as humans to make guidelines for characters than just pieces of code. It's easier to figure out what should we do and not when we are building more and more complicated software. Well, anyways, like I said, it was really a pretty simple piece of code, but it's meant to produce only facts. And this is the problem with the current technology. We can't use chatgpt, for example, or any GPT model to do something like this because it would have the risk of having wrong information or wrong sources or something like that. They're not built for that. They're built for replicating human language, not know all. They are not correct all the time, but they're good at creating language and understanding our language. Voitto does things like this. This is from municipal elections. This is old picture. It did the same last time, a couple of years ago. It creates information based on data. For example, this pretty nice looking graphics automatically for over 300 municipalities in Finland. We did some machine learning too. A couple of years later, this Voitto predicts what should be pushed to you in our news app. So based on your behavior, your decisions, and what you explicitly have said you are interested in, it takes those around those topics you are interested in and select that this story you haven't said that you want to have a push notification about stories like this, but this is so close that we are going to push this to you. If you fail, people are going to turn off notifications. So it has to be pretty good. And users have to have control over it. This was quite complicated. We built months to get it work. We did even more testing. We did this Voitto app, like a platform for us to do testing in-house. We did, for example, data analysis based on achievements made by our journalists. For example, if you're a new journalist, you could break your record every week or get a different kind of achievements, like this is the first time your story reached 50,000 youngsters from the audience. Or now you break the all-time record of all journalists with your story based on different categories. We did some testing, it's not in production, but I think we are moving this direction to give personalized feedback to people working, not just have baseline of data and go from that. Okay, last year when Russia attacked Ukraine and refugees started coming to Finland, we thought that it would be really good to have news service for Ukrainian refugees. And technology was amazing. We could use ready-made machine learnings to do tools for journalists. We need only one people to create enough stories, and there are also original stories, not just translated stories made for Ukrainians. And we were able to do it in a couple of weeks. Few years ago, this it wouldn't be possible. It would be only human labor to make it happen. And next, we are going to translate videos. It's not that complicated, actually. Maybe the difficult part is to have short enough text for if we are going to prompt the videos. We can also use, of course, AIs for creating voices and having speech with new language over the original video soundtrack. But for learning purposes, learning language based on our user testing, it makes more sense to have texts, subtitles, not voiceover. Okay, moving forward. Then it's important to have, like I said, collaboration between different countries and companies having same kind of goals. In EBU, the European broadcasting companies share news content, and this machine translation technology is used in that also. So we can get news, for example, from Portugal, Sweden, and France, all translated to Finnish and vice versa. So journalists can pick stories and they are translated to different languages, and it can happen everywhere in Europe. This pilot is still going on, and the technology behind it is of course there. We are not sure what's the next step going to be, but it's pretty interesting. If you have watched Star Trek when you were younger, you know the universal translator. It's almost here. We can almost translate any language to other language, and it's almost real time. It won't take that long that we can actually understand each other, even if we don't know the language at all. One thing we are building now, during this year, we have started, but it's pretty complicated, but I think we are going to make it work during this year. We are doing content analysis. This means that, well, the basic idea is to analyze our own stories, all of them, and create understanding how diverse our stories are. Who are we giving voice to? Who are subjects? Who are objects of the stories? What topics are covered? How we, let's say, giving voice to different social, economical segments of the society. And we can compare the data with, for example, statistics, because Finland is the land of statistics. We have lots of knowledge about, for example, different occupations. And we can compare that. Are we actually, for example, in business, are we asking opinions of experts the same way that the division goes in statistics from females and males? Or are those all male panels? So people try to be inclusive, but we produce so much news that we don't actually know. Nobody reads all of them, not even inside Yle. So we need computers for that. We need AI to examine all the data we are producing, all the stories we are producing, analyze each of them and give us information about it. So we can measure how we are performing and change accordingly. Well, some words about generative AI and news. It's not going to be all fun and games. It's going to be tough for us as well, because we are in the truth business. The idea is not just to generate images. They should be about the story. There should be, for example, if we are saying that a plane exploded, then the picture should be about that plane. It's not some plane that exploded. It's the specific plane in that time. It should kind of be evidence for that event happening. Bring information about the event, not just have a picture, nice picture with your story. Same goes to text. It has to be true as possible, as humanly possible. In the future, it can be even more true as humanly possible, because we have assistants helping to check facts and correct biases. Of course, humans will be in charge, but assistants can help out to figure that maybe you should look at this angle. Have you missed this? It's just like proofreading. It's simple as that. Well, much more complicated to do, but the idea is the same. Somebody says that, oh, you're missing a capital letter there. Maybe you want to fix it. Okay, that will be the future. But for a society as a whole, it will be difficult to know what's true and what's not. That is a problem. Because if we take a page from Playbook for bad guys, it goes like this. To mess up a society, mess up the truth. Just, you don't have to have people believing your version or your fake information. You just have to flood the people with information. A different kind of versions and what's true and what's not. If you are flooded with information that is conflicting, you don't know what to trust, who to trust. That's straight out from, for example, Russians' playbook. How to mess up with Western societies. Make them doubt everything. And this will be easier. We are quite protected with our small language, difficult small language here in Finland, but not anymore. I was really surprised when GPT models learned Finnish that well. That was like, whoa. No other technology before was so good at kind of taking this small area and having our language. It was like secret language, only for us. But now computers know it as well. So it was like 5 to 6 million people in the whole wide world knew this language. And now basically anyone can make good enough Finnish, for example, making Nigerian letters more credible. We are not protected anymore. But it will be an awesome tool for good guys as well. So it's not all dystopian stuff. It'll be difficult, but it will be fun. Because these are, I think, the most important topics. I might change my mind in 2 weeks because things are moving so fast. But saving our time, humans' time, that will be a really big issue. We can't even probably imagine what kind of automation is possible. And having more time to think, analyze, understand, and try to create different kind of ideas. Not the ideas that you ask from chatgpt and you get the list. Everybody gets similar lists. But can you figure out something else? That will be interesting, amazing. We can find relevant information from big data sets in the future. We can do it now, but it's quite difficult. It will be easier. We can monitor the world around us, our society, social media, whole world. everything. We can summarize anything. Well, we are going to use a lot of electricity for that, but basically anyone can understand what's going on in the whole world if they want to. That's really great superpower. Like I said, it's not a small feat to remove language barriers. That will be interesting, to know what's going on in our neighboring countries, even if we don't understand the language. And it will be more difficult to block the flow of information based on just language. For example, to our eastern neighbor, if there's any need for the information, you can get it, and the language won't be a problem anymore. But the most important thing, the one I highlighted, is playing around, having fun with the AI, boosting our creativity. For example, this is one of the first pictures I made. It's pretty dark there when Midjourney version 5 came. It was really easy. I can't paint like that. I can't paint a space kitten in field of flowers, but I can do it with prompting. I basically do stuff with AI every day, just for the fun of it. I like Midjourney, I like ChatGPT. I especially like nowadays Stable Diffusion, because I can run it on my own computer, and you have lots of parameters, and you can do so much with that. I think Antti will blow your mind later on with his presentation. And I think the real AI superpower is that it doesn't get tired of us. We can do anything and it doesn't mind. For example, one picture I wanted to create, I didn't actually know what I was aiming for, but I just wanted to have a nice picture, and I didn't know how to prompt it. I tested it out for a couple of hours, different kind of stuff, and then I decided that I'm going to sleep, and you, my computer, are going to do 1,000 versions of this picture with this prompt overnight. See you tomorrow. Do that to a human being. I don't know what I want, but do 1,000 versions. I pick one, and if I don't like that, you do 10,000 more. You can't hire a painter, or you can't hire a photographer, or you can't hire any artist and say that, make me 1,000 versions of something I don't really know. Maybe it should be pink or blue, I don't know. Try it out. So we have this amazing tool for our creativity. But you really, if you want to have it at your disposal, you really have to train your skills. Prompting isn't that easy, and maybe it will get easier, but creating something original, those are just tools for us to create something original and interesting, because everybody will be creating. It's like when digital photography was invented. The internet is flooded with pictures. Nobody wants to see your picture unless it's really amazing. Same will happen with AI. Everybody will have these tools. Who is going to create something that is interesting and original? It's probably a human being with those mind-blowing skills and some really original ideas that comes from doing a lot of different stuff and experimenting. Okay, last couple of slides. We did for having our own people at Yle, getting those skills. We try to make it easier. We did this documentation. It's available for all if you want to check it out. These are just 3 slides of it. It's like 63 pages or something about ChatGPT. What is it, how it works, how you can use it as a journalist, but it's quite general purpose. And what should you be aware of? For example, hallucination. You really have to understand hallucination and why it happens to know when you are probably being misled. Or what kind of possibilities there could be. This is quite simple, quite basic, but it's a good starting point. And like I said, it's over 60 pages, so if it wouldn't be starting point, it would be like 600 pages. But if you want to check it out, it's on our blog. It's in Finnish and English. Okay, that was my introduction kind of to the topic. It would take hours to get into deeper details, but I hope you got some ideas what we are doing and what we are aiming for, and what I personally find really interesting at this time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Aki. Any questions?
Patrik, Floréen. I think it was quite interesting this what you had towards the end about the different audiences. So is the future that we will get the personalized Helsingin Sanomat so that there will be a children's version and a simple language version, selkokieli, of everything, or there will be future new products coming out of this. So how do you see this from this business angle?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're doing that already. For example, car business, I use that often. We are not driving the same model and same make of cars, and all cars have usually 4 wheels and engine, and we have our preferences. I think AI technology will make it really simple in the future, not right now, to have it your way. I think the important things are not just kind of color and having different kind of user interfaces, but it can adapt to your basic knowledge, what you know about things. For example, if a journalist is writing a story about Finland joining NATO, it's quite different to understand the background if you are born in 60s or 2010. Like, do you know what the Cold War was? And so we have so big gaps in our knowledge and our history. So the AI can help with that. It can make it more suitable for you to understand, kind of get to the same level. For humans, doing one story for the whole audience, it's really difficult. That's the difficult part. So I think there will be lots of personalization. How the user interface will adapt, that will be an interesting question. It's not easy. It should be automatic, but how to make it automatic, I don't know yet.
I'm going to solve the problem with the new government, because the dilemma of some people in the negotiations not liking the way YLE does the news nowadays. You can use this technology too, and now please stop streaming because they are going to do this. There's going to be a Persu version of the Yle programs and Demari version, and you can pick the version you like, and everybody is happy except probably some of us.
I hope we won't get that divided. Yeah, I see the point. And humans have been doing that service for, if you have specific audience who wants to hear about specific topics in a specific way from a specific point of view, we have been doing it. Let's go to America and we see what's going on there. But I hope we are not going there. It will be difficult.
Okay, we need to go to the last question quickly. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
We welcome Päivi to the stage.
Okay, great. Great to see you all here. I'm Päivi Ala-Risku from Helsingin Sanomat, and Helsingin Sanomat is the largest subscription-based media in the Nordics. So, and I'm a producer there at the data and design desk. I work with automation, with data journalism, tools development, and such. And yeah, I also very interesting discussion with Aki, and now I'm going to show our version of the voittorobot. We call it Latoja, which has also done for some years some text-based automation mainly. So here are some examples we've been doing: sports stories, weather stories, stock stories, and yeah, this has been like traditional rule-based automation. If there is an data says X, then write that. If data says C, then write that. So it's not an AI automation, but automation nevertheless. But yeah, the problem with that kind of automation is that computer is really good at doing things with structured data in a structured order, in a structured manner. But news, by definition, or news happen when something new happens, when something unexpected happens. So to do stories with this rule-based automation, you can kind of have to like imagine all the possible versions that could happen, all the ruptures, and write an explanation for that. So that has been the problem maybe with the text-based automation, the rule-based automation, and this text-heavy stories. So we at Helsingin Sanomat, we have then maybe shifted a bit from like text automation to graphics automation, because graphs, by definition, they are much more structured. So then the next generation of our automated stuff has looked more like this. So for example, the sports story is looking now like this, so you can see what happened during that game. You can choose the player you want to look, and this is actually much more relevant to the reader also than to read the numbers. Now you can see the numbers here. So this is more what we are currently doing. Also, then there's this weather thing where you can choose the municipality you want to see the data and stuff like that. So this is more the automation style we are now doing. And now at the eve of generative AI, it's really interesting to see like what can be done, because the possibilities are now so huge, because the large language models, they are so good at generating text. Of course, they are not like reliable yet, like for example, chatgpt, it hallucinates, but still all the possibilities that it gives now. So, but also I hear this fear quite often, that will generative AI destroy journalism and journalists and media business? Because now everybody can create text, everybody can create images, and everybody can do like lots of content. And yeah, I think nope, because and this is only part of a joke, that now everybody can generate so much content. There will be millions of blog posts and tweets and stuff like that. So now, the more than ever, journalists are needed to come through all that material and really find the interesting thing and relevant thing, and then present it in some digestible way. So I really think that journalists are needed more than ever now, of course. And so what could generative AI do in context of media and journalism? Here are some like possibilities. What could be done? And it was the audience question from audience. You asked about the personalization, and I think that's just one example, but really fascinating one, because of course we cannot yet, at least yet, let the chatgpt or anything like that create the basic news or the story behind it, because it hallucinates. But what if a journalist would write one story, and then we would let the AI to personalize it, or make, for example, okay, I have only 5 minutes time this morning. I want to hear all the news in 5 minutes, and then there could be a AI that would create the Helsingin Sanomat stories in 5 minutes. Or if I have more time, 30 minutes, I'm going to jogging, then I want to listen some more. And also that the format can change. It can be read a story or listen to it or watch a video, or maybe in the future it could be like Insta story, like I have this one huge story, but then the journalist decides to make different versions out of it. And I said the journalist decides, so I think it's a collaboration with the AI. Either the journalist collaborates with it or the reader collaborates it. And yeah, the question how the UI would look, then that's interesting one. We have done in Helsingin Sanomat, we have done these stories, these interactive stories where the reader can choose that, okay, I'm from this and this city, or I'm born this and this year, and then the text changes based on that selection. So that's one option how to do it. And also with the AI and these possibilities, the interactivity can play a huge role. Like within one story, like you have one story dealing about what could be some economical situation in different municipalities. You could then choose your own municipality and create a story out of that. Or what could also be fun would be like if you are reading a story and you haven't been following the news for 1 week or so, or a couple of days, and you don't know what's this all about, this thing they are writing there, you could ask the story that, okay, give me a short summary. Or the journalist could do that beforehand, create short summaries with the help of AI and check them that they are correct or whatever. So I think there are endless list of possibilities right now, and this is from the personalization and interactivity point of view. But of course, like for example, we can get rid of all those stock photos. We can then start to use AI-generated photo images, not from the news situation, but maybe from some other stories, some health stories or whatever. So yeah. And then some possibilities for journalists, like how to do their job. And we have already seen some examples that with chatgpt now they are having all those plugins which are not widely available yet, but you can put your data set there and it creates many graphs out of that. So that could be a help to explore huge data sets for journalists. You give them a data set. For example, I work quite a lot with housing data, and so I could give my data set to the AI and tell, okay, what's important this month? Is it the monthly change, or is it the yearly change, or is it the what number that's important or interesting today? It could help me to find the most important thing. But yeah. So it's a collaboration, I think, because automation and AI doesn't have to be like all or nothing thing. It can be a collaboration with the journalist or with the audience. And yeah, currently, right now, we have lots of ideas and testing going on at Helsingin Sanomat and Sanoma company, and we encourage journalists to try generative AI. But yeah, at the moment, for example, the chatgpt is just not good enough for publication because it hallucinates, and we are responsible, and we want to be responsible for every word we publish. So we can't let AI hallucinate. There's some media that already does these summaries with AI, and they publish the summaries and say that, okay, this summary has been done with AI. It can contain things that are not right, and well, it's good that they at least say it, but of course we want to be sure that whatever we publish is really true. And also one guideline we have that if we publish something generated by AI, we tell the readers, just like we told in those stories I showed earlier. There's a line saying that okay, this story was created by automation. So we want to readers to know. And then stepping a bit back, I think even though like ChatGPT at the moment cannot be trusted, it's still we can't look down on it and be like, oh, there is not going to be any real problem there. We can just continue to do our old stuff. It's not reliable. But I think like with ChatGPT, the question is not is it reliable, but is it reliable enough from the user's perspective? Like the rise of Wikipedia 20 years ago. First, everybody was like, oh, it's not going to hurt the encyclopedia business because it's not verified information. But in the end, it was reliable enough for the users. And yeah, I'm not buying encyclopedias. I'm looking from Wikipedia right now. So that's a question we need to, as a business, we need to keep in mind that that's the question. And yeah, to wrap up, I think that as to my first question there, I would like to answer that AI will not replace journalists, but journalists who use AI will replace those who don't. So I see it will be a tool. Like every journalist is using Google nowadays, or Googling stuff, or they use computers. It's not like I can choose not to use computers. So it's going to be a tool. And I think very, very helpful tool. Yeah, thanks. So please get in touch if you have anything to say or ask.
Okay, thank you. Now time for some questions. We start from here.
Patrik here again. I have a question for you. If you know about like the figures, so how much are these kind of AI generated or automatically this your voitto, whatever it was named, how much are they actually read? Is it something that is very popular or not? That's my question. And then I have another thing. It's a comment to this personalization discussion here. I think it's very unfortunate if this kind of personalization goes into the direction that was mentioned here next to me, that we will have like content-wise different things. I was more thinking that there could be different like versions of the same thing, but not so that everybody gets a different Helsingin Sanomat, because I think it's very valuable also for this discussion of what is the truth and what is not, that we can talk to each other. And like I said to Hugo, did you see this thing in today's Helsingin Sanomat? And then he says, oh, it's not in my Helsingin Sanomat. I think that would be very fatal. So you should actually be very clear also in the transparency, so that it's the reader then who should be able to choose that, okay, now I want this selkokieli, easy language version or whatever. So not so that it is something that is secretly done and the user doesn't know that it's a different story and not the original one. So I had a question and a comment.
About the numbers. Well, first of all, we tried to do like the weather story, for example. It was done every day, 7 different versions to all of the municipalities or the cities around Helsinki. There was version for Helsinki, version for Espoo, version for Järvenpää, version for Hyvinkää. So per one story, the numbers weren't that high, but it doesn't really matter because the computer does all the versions. It's for the computer, it's as easy to do one version than 10 different versions. So in this kind of situation, I think the automated stories are really great that you can do multiple versions, and then when you add them up, then it makes sense.
It's a quick one. Thank you for the presentation and for your agile work with such a quick developing technology with us. So coming back to personalization, so do you think it's a possibility, let's say, if, again, we're creating the information bubble, right? Once we personalize the way we consume the information, but what if, let's say, at the end of the week, Helsingin Sanomat send me something like, okay, you were consuming 5 minutes every day, so here is a half-an-hour version for you, just to, see the same information, but with a little bit different view. Or if we say, okay, here's the situation in economy, but here's a bit of a content for you because you are like 16 years old, maybe you don't know something, so here's an additional information for these users, so that this information bubble is not shaping my view based on my preferences. Just an idea.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, avoiding creating more bubbles. So I think that if there's a personalization algorithm, there also has to be a part in the algorithm that then gives you something unexpected, that you get the whole picture, but the emphasis on the things you are interested in, but still avoiding to creating more and more bubbles.
Yeah, Jussi Hermonen. I was wondering if you've looked into analyzing the letters sent into the newspaper with generative AI to see the sentiments in there or something similar.
Yeah, it would be interesting, definitely.
When combining, for instance, with what Aki was saying about understanding the diversity of the messages that are being sent and being received, I was thinking about with the state of Europe and looking for psychological operations and similar things. So it might be interesting.
Definitely.
Okay, I think that's you. And we'll go. Okay, so now we have Antti coming from online, I hope. There we go. Good. Go ahead.
Greetings from Eastern Finland. So I'm coming from, I would be definitely would be there live, but unfortunately I'm at home at the moment. So big thanks to the tech guys to make this happen. I think I just jump straight to the presentation and kind of go through who I am through that. So I'll share screen and Hugo, can you just say if you're seeing this?
Yes.
Now
it's good.
So that's coming. All right. I think so. My topic is here artificial intelligence and the disruption of visual production. And in this picture, maybe you'll see the future artists at work. I will talk about this picture also a bit later. It's a part of this one project where everything is covered in snow, but just most of the pictures in this presentation will be anyways done in AI. So who I am, so my name is Antti, mainly a photographer and digital artist. I do mainly brand images and visual strategies for different brands and companies. I do a lot of education. I have my own education platform. I've done a lot of also like NFT crypto projects, and now, of course, the last thing for 1.5 years is AI. I've been nominated also the best professional photographer of the year a few years back, and won also a few World Cup gold medals in photography. So my heart is in photography, but now for the past 6 months, I've been like full on doing AI stuff. And here you can see my socials if you want to look other work that I do. I think in the left, you will see basically rather the only done with the kind of basic medium of me pictures. Other pictures will be in AI. Diverse subject. Here's some emails or messages that I have gotten since I've been rather public, a photographer or artist doing AI quite early on. So there's this one guy sent me an email saying that you are single-handedly ruining the photography industry. And the other guy sent me an email that thanks for rapidly accelerating the death of an industry. So here's a premise I have to kind of battle against. AI in art is a diverse subject. There's a lot of people don't necessarily understand quite how it works, and it's almost like a blue cheese that a lot of artists are totally against it, and some are kind of slowly adapting and getting into and understanding it better. But this is a tough subject for being an artist. AI 1.5 years ago, it was when AI started to come in arts. It was already a time that people thought that art industry will be the last ones the AI will kind of disrupt. And it was really funny that it was actually the first that it kind of disrupted like totally. It wasn't the blue collar jobs. Art industries were kind of heavily impacted with this one. So generative art, I think we Hugo went through already this briefly, and I will go through it also. But in the basic form, it's about writing a prompt, and it just spits out an image in 30 seconds or more or less. And so here's just a basic prompt: tiny, cute, adorable piglet adventure interest in a warm overcoat with the survival gear on a winter's day, and that picture comes out. So these are made with, I think, with also Midjourney. Not only like illustrative things, we can kind of define anything we want. A bronze statue of Henry Cavill, photography, beautiful HDR, 80 millimeters lens. So that will give this bokeh feeling and looks like an actual photograph. So prompts can be really basic, or then they can be really elaborate and kind of detailed. So the more descriptive you are, the more details and the more AI will understand what you want from the images. So there can be a positive prompt in the up, so it will try to generate that, and the negative prompt tries not to make those, like bad anatomy and bad faces and stuff like that. So you are able to control quite a bit also with the prompt. You can also kind of feed images to inspiration, or then use them as a base. So on the left, there's my own picture that I created, and then I just say that make this a variation, and put the real actor Catherine Winnick in that, and just make a Vikings picture out of that. So it's using my picture as a guide to create that image on the left. And here's another one, like a Frozen on the left, my own creation. Done with the real model and photography, and then I just used that image as a base, and then said make a Frozen Elsa in this kind of a thing. So it's not only text-based things that you are able to do with the AI. I'm going to go really briefly how it works. There's a lot of this information, and artists doesn't necessarily understand how it works. A lot of people think that if you write a prompt in any kind of a AI, it will go to Google image search and makes a collage out of that. That's a rather common understanding how it works, but that's not how it does work. Most of these works is a diffusion models. So imagine that there's a glass of water, and you have an ink drop, and you drop that ink drop there. It diffuses in water, but there's no way you're able to get that ink drop back into an ink drop. But with these AI models and these latent spaces, you are able to train them, let's say, with a picture of a cat, and then you are adding noise to it until it's like totally unrecognizable noise. And then you train that to make that cat picture back again. So these models are trained with millions or billions pictures. So it has basically seen hundreds of thousands of apples. So when I ask, create me an apple, it creates me different kind of apples if I'm not specific what kind of apple or what I want. So these on the top are like real pictures, and below there's AI generated pictures from that single word. So it knows what an apple is, and it's able to create those pictures from latent space, just making a noise, and then using that direction of the prompt, it's just able to create. And every time I generate, it creates a different kind of apple. it has seen all the pictures of Picasso. So in the top, there's a real Picasso paintings, and in the below, there's a prompt painting by Picasso. And it's actually been funny now to see that if I go and type paintings of Picasso, it will start to give me a lot of AI pictures of Picasso. So this is also this information that what you are able to, what you believe, even if you go to Google search and it shows like even this picture in the below, I would totally believe that it's a picture of Picasso, but it's an AI generated. So in the future will be a weird thing to see how this goes. So it's also able to combine these. So if I ask, make me an apple by Picasso, so it just generates this noise first, and then just slowly emerges those two words into a picture of apple that is maybe painted by Picasso. But I can ask anything. I can ask, make me a apple that looks like a Picasso. So that's also. So imagine that I give you a piece of paper, and I ask you to draw a clock, just a basic clock. You have learned somehow how to draw a clock, and basically, if I ask you that you have 10 seconds time, you draw something like this on a paper. So from your memory, you have learned also how to draw a clock and what a clock is. And if I would say to you, draw a clock that is made by, painted by, or drawn by Salvador Dali, you might remember these melting clocks, and then you draw something like this. Same with AI. I could ask, draw me a clock. It does way better job than you, and way faster than you. And if I ask, draw me a clock by Salvador Dali, it does that too, because it has learned how Salvador Dali's works looks like. So in a way, it's not that different from human brain, how we learn. It's just so much more efficient and so much more faster to learn and learn how to do these images. The basics are the prompting that we kind of go through, the same stuff also with the chatgpt. You kind of ask something from the AI. Prompts are usually a sentence around 400 characters or less that describes the image you want. And as I said, the more descriptive you are, the more detailed image that what you want. So if I would like to have a picture of a skier, for example, I could just write a man skiing in the forest. But that is not describing enough, because it will generate me a man in a forest in skis, but it doesn't, it just generates something on those. But you could describe all the aspects of the clothing, of the weather, and what is the pose even. And so the more descriptive you are, the more detailed images you are able to get. One thing is surprising that I started doing AI for over 1.5 years ago, and I was immediately drawn at that time, and I was getting like pictures like these, like really artistic stuff, and I was like really drawn into that already by that. And a lot of my friends were basically laughing at me that they don't resemble anything, but I was like drawn, and I was like curious to see how fast this develops. And so basically 1.5 years ago, I was able to generate these kind of weird images that I thought they were really cool still. But I didn't understand, and I don't think no one predicted that after 1.5 years from those crappy pictures, we are able to do now basically photorealistic stuff of anything we want by basically typing text in a text field and using these tools. So here's just an AI picture of what we are able to generate now. And these are rather astounding at the moment. And as Hugo said, also video is coming like 9 to 12 months behind. So next year, this time we're able to do these quality videos in HD quality. So that's rather astounding too. I've been learning new methods, and there's new methods coming out like weekly, and it's hard to keep up. But I've been kind of practicing quite a bit of training the AI, because making my own models, because then I get some personalized stuff into my pictures. So here's just an example of my own face. And a bit over half a year ago, we were able to get these quality images out of, for example, training. And if you remember anyone in the last year, December, there was a big viral thing in TikToks and Instagrams about this Lensa app where you are able to make your own avatars. There were still like really artistic things and kind of cool things. But now what I'm able to do from my own face, I can basically do whatever I want with it, with any kind of a clothing, any kind of a hair, any kind of a locations, what I would want. So this is me with the pink hair or long hair or curly hair and different outfits, or with the robot. I can do any kind of a commercial cases where I'm making my own training models. Here's the training data, for example, for this case, just a sample of it on the right. So this was for Savonia School here. For one campaign, I trained 5 students' faces to AI, and then I was able to generate these. This is the Taiteja 2024 kind of a campaign images, real students that are in locations that doesn't exist, but they portray basically what kind of a education this Savonia School has to offer. So the training data, around 12 pictures of faces, and you're able to train the face, and then you're able to put that person into any location in any kind of a pose and whatever you want. Here's just an example of, again, a real person trained the AI model, made some fashion shoots. It doesn't matter if it's one or how many people. I can always kind of do various of those training models and then just use those training models to do even group shots. So the training, I think it's at least for me, it's a thing that I've been practiced quite a bit. So when you do the training model, there's a rather cool things you can control of that. So you can control basically the poses, clothing, styles, and locations. So here's a AI model I made from a person, and now I can put her in any place. But I can control also age. If I want to see how that person would look as a toddler or an older person or kind of a middle-aged woman, I can do that. So AI can kind of estimate, kind of get the features from that face and how it would look like as a younger or older version out of that. I can put the person or any basically element in part of the real photos. So this part is AI generated. So this is just basically a stock image, and then I just asked, can you put this person here? So these are rather astounding things that you are able to do. Not only per people, or you can train also objects or whatever you want. Then kind of a disruption field, a lot of pictures of different industries. It's kind of disrupt this whole thing. Of course, illustrative images, photography in that sense. Anyone who makes any kind of graphics knows that how hard and how long would it take to make this kind of illustration image in 3D or any kind of other medium. And now we are kind of prompt away from generating that. Fashion, whatever we want, guiding clothing design or anything like that. Food photography, we are able to do crazy detailed images of basically anything. Product shots, these are these are all made AI with basically a single prompt. Interior design, architecture, for example, we are able to see stuff unseen. I've told a lot of designers, for example, jewelry designers, and when I've shown, for example, these pictures, one person say that no, you cannot make that kind of a piece from silver, and then the next comment came that, or maybe could I? because we are visual persons that if we see something in visual form, our brain goes into mode that you see that actual piece already. So these AI also could help develop new production ways to do stuff. Clothing design, I just wanted to see how Manolo Blahnik shoes and Louis Vuitton bags would look together. Again, different kind of styles of sketches of clothing, 3D models of sneakers, different kind of design products, glass art, web design, landing pages, logos. It generates really amazing stuff from those. Even clothing for movie productions that we are able to see how certain things would look like before we make them in production. Production shots, different kind of so just random pictures that I generated just to show what is possible with AI. People, we are able to generate basically rather realistic people. And it was really funny that a lot of people comment, I'm rather sure that many of you guys have seen that there's always a comment that, no, he has 6 fingers or 10 fingers, and a lot of my colleagues are tied to that. They are kind of always like laughing in that, and those are easy to fix. And if you imagine that I can generate images like this with a text prompt, I really don't care if the person has 6 fingers or whatever. It's like a so minor detail in this overall thing that and could be fixed, and those things are already fixed. Realistic people, what I'm able to generate, really, really lifelike pictures of people. There's a lot of tools that can help me also to do whatever I kind of want. Even if I have a 3D model already, like in this stage, I would need to put all the materials in and lighting. That would take weeks but now I can just take that picture into AI and say, give me all the bushes and lighting and textures. And this is a prompt, a text prompt that generates from this image all these different lightings, or this just a shell shaded image that turns into a steampunk valley. That's one text prompt. Or we can texturize things with a text prompt. I can do a scribble of drawing and say that turn this into a real bunny. I can control every aspect of a pose, even to the fingers, what I want from the pictures. So these are the tools that I have in my disposal. So I think the kind of last part is the business cases that I've done. I think I've used commercially already since last January, so over a year. I started doing a lot of these visual strategies for companies. This was still a time when AI was more like artistic, but I was able to do this visual like 50 or 100 images out of this is a US-based company that makes these cloud services in the crypto world. So I made a bunch of different cloud people interaction kind of these in a one unified color theme. There was a talk already that I can generate like 1,000 images. I generated for one crypto project also 1,000 of these different kind of Godzillas in different kind of a water element. And if I would do this in 3D, it would be a minimum of a week at doing a minimum of week. So imagine doing 1,000 of these in 3D or any other traditional medium. Interior design, I did for one hotel chain, kind of see what is possible for lobby or lightings and stuff like that. This again for the Savonia Sakku case, training the AI models of students and putting these in different kind of brand pictures for that project. I did also election advertisement for Vantaa. They wanted people to vote basically like real people and not these fake AI people. So they are like a bit exaggerated human beings. of course, the copy opens up here in what we wanted to say, but these are AI-generated people, that they don't want people to vote in the elections. Here's a bigger project I did, 11 employees and a dog for this media company in Turku. All these pictures are staff pictures for that company. Real people trained AI models, and then I made all the environments and stuff like that with the AI. Even the group pictures, all the visual elements with the unified theme, all the kind of isolated objects also. I've been estimating that if I would do this in like a traditional way, like 3D modeling, photography, stylings, locations, I think it would be easy, like 250,000 euros case done with the previous production methods. A training not only for, as I said, people, I can train objects. This is for one furniture design company. I can kind of put them in a brand pictures. Any style, this for one event, for example, this kind of a paper collage. Here's one of the latest that's ongoing for Helen, done with Curio. Agency, Helen launched this children's book about energy, Energi Ellen. So my goal was to turn this cartoon character into a real social media influencer, well, real, lifelike, that can have her own life in the social media. It's being said out loud that it's a virtual character, but we able to generate from that drawing. I was able to generate this girl, made a training model out of that, and now she has own Instagram pages and living online in different kind of atmospheres and posting about energy, even a part of real photographs and real legendary actors and stuff with Helen and stuff like that. So in the last, I will talk about my own projects, because my own projects always explain what is possible, because the client cases comes also after that, and they're always, client usually doesn't know what is possible, so I have to show them. So at first, here's one of my own projects called The Great Freeze. Great Freeze is a documentary photography project where I imagine that whole world will be covered in snow. I created 100 images of different walks of life of a world that it's covered in snow. It's a part environmental kind of a project that where, of course, I take a stand on climate warming, because the extremes are kind of course, getting diverse. So these are all AI-made documentary images of this Great Freeze event that everything is covered in snow. And this is also picture of that project. I made 100 images of those. This all made into NFTs, and this was sold out a month ago in an auction. So they are all sold as NFTs. But after, of course, Great Freeze comes the Great Melt or the Great Flood. These are images from my upcoming series where everything is flooded in water. I'll just go through these just images you'll see. I'll try to push the realism and the cinematic qualities of the AI, what I'm able to produce these. I experiment a lot of trying to achieve really lifelike studio photography or these abstract black and white photos, experimenting how real I can get these pictures with the skin textures and lighting and stuff like that. For example, these people don't exist at all, or these cars. Experimenting with textures and mixing different kind of art, making my own AI models of pieces of painting, mixing people and art together. Here's a pictures of one project that is kind of looking into how depression looks like a big heavy cloud over you. So here's just pictures of this. How it would look like if the world would be covered in plastic waste. It would be like this. Basically impossible to do with the traditional means, or would cost really much. Fragile, a project of human fragility. These can be abstract, and the whole goal is to make them look unreal. These are experiments of my own training models, and I got really, really amazing kind of a quality out of these. Beauty and the Blackness. This is a project of oil and environmental waste and how it kind of mixing the beauty and the oil, dirty oil together. So in all, if I want to have unicorns, pink unicorns and balloons and whatever, I can create basically in any pose, any location, what I want. So that's a brief introduction of what is possible in the field of AI and generative art.
Okay, we have a couple of questions from online, and I think these are linked together. So two questions, but basically the same thing. So what are the ethical and legal implications of AI art? Who owns the rights to the art generated by AI? And the other question, which is what about royalty payments to the artists that the model has learned of? Tools like Midjourney are blatantly taking inspiration from existing artists and will continue to do so. Do you ever think there will be a fair royalty model for artists that these models are taking data from?
Yeah, these are like the questions I usually get. The ethics is a hard thing, and there's a legal things going on. Legal side cannot. Technically, it's moving so fast. Legal side is not up to date in a way. But in for example, the work that I do, I own the rights because of how I use AI in my work. Basically the threshold originally is always met because it's not that I use AI, that I make a prompt and then just use that image, because it goes through either I train my own AI models or then I modify them and retouch them in the post-production quite heavily. So in my work, I own the rights of these images, but there's a lot of kind of dispute on this at the moment. But if I look in the EU and Finland law side, it's kind of clear that it's I own the rights in that. The ethical side, using it's a trickier one. People cannot own a style, and as I try to explain how AI works, the AI models doesn't have a single picture anymore in the models. It has looked at them and learned from them. I cannot produce basically those images anymore. They are not the same images or in that sense. Ethical questions and legal questions are basically always the hardest because there's the legal side is behind in this anyways. But I have talked to many lawyers and read a lot of stuff in EU law that kind of EU is kind of more okay than USA, for example, with the because in USA everyone is always like taken to the court if there's someone seeing something that is taking part. For example, Adobe is using their Firefly. They are using their own Adobe stock as their training model, and they are trying to figure out the compensation model for pictures that are being used. I don't know how it's going to work in the future, but all these legal suits that are from Get to Image or the bigger ones in the United States, they will show the way in the future, but this is unstoppable already.
So now we have already set up the panel here, and this last question was actually directed towards Antti, but I want to hear everybody else's. opinions on this also, because this is something we discussed early on. So how do you foresee the future of art if more artists use generative models and less artists create original materials from which the models can be improved? Something that we discussed also, that it takes time to learn to paint, for instance. Why would anybody do that?
Well, I don't know why anybody would write books anymore for the last 100 years, because there's been television and movies. But somehow there are still people who write books and people who read books. So I'm not very afraid that this is going to be like that kind of huge disruption that nobody wants to learn to paint anymore.
Yeah, I think that in a way, I wish, I said it in our conversation also, that I wish that this whole AI art thing will be saturated really fast. Unfortunately, it is going to take many years until basically the saturation point, and people get basically sick of any kind of AI generative art, and then basically the handwork or craftsmanship and making like real art pictures becomes hopefully more valuable in the future. I don't think it will stop it, but it will make, for example, young people harder to put that time to learn how to draw with the airbrush, for example. So it will, in my mind, it will kind of affect in the long term anyways, the art education, and it's not all good. Definitely not all good looking for that, but in a way I hope that the craftsmanship and making by hand becomes more valuable in the future. But we're, on that sense, we're kind of heading in a difficult times in next 3 to 5 years.
Yep. So many data scientists have been asking, so what if we now, like you said, we flood the internet with images generated by AI, and the next models will use these to learn things. So what can we do about that? Is there a way to, are people looking at watermarking the images, for instance?
I think there's a lot of companies that are trying to achieve that you could kind of mark somehow that this is AI generative image, or then, but I don't know how it's going to be technology going to work. But I can already see, for example, from certain AI models, for example, Midjourney is a good example, because it has learned from people's upvoting, and it has gotten better in that sense. But it's, for my taste, it's almost getting too perfect. And I like that, especially from my own art. For example, I cannot create those kind of a fragile images that are distorted. I cannot create anything like that with Midjourney. So that's why I'm going to save all my old, really crappy AI models just to produce weird stuff, because in the future, we have difficulties to create 6 fingers in a hand, for example. So I'm saving all my models that creates 10 fingers, because those are my precious things in the future to create these weird stuff. So
that's an interesting point.
Yeah. So, but in my mind, the Midjourney is kind of getting too perfect for my taste.
So what about Yle or HS? Are you going to mark images made with AI or text? Päivi, you mentioned that you will say if the text has been. What about images?
I think not right now, but in near future, I think it could be a good idea to kind of watermark or some kind of digital marking, to have some kind of digital marking in stories and pictures that are true, not the other way around, because there are so many cases where it doesn't really matter for the creator to say that this is created with AI, but for kind of real images, real text, to protect the brands and have some ways of knowing that somebody's behind this information will be really important. well, there are ideas how AI could find out, for example, which photographs are fake, but I don't think that will work in the long run. It's like, well, when we find out a way to figure out this is fake, then there will be a way to fool that the algorithm that is finding the fakes, and in the end it will be impossible to find all the fakes. There will be just so many ways to fool the checking. So I think it will go the other way around. The sources making original stories, having real photographs of real world, are going to try to watermark or somehow sign that this is actually true. Well, then those watermarks will be forged as well, so it'll be difficult. But I think people have to find ways to kind of know this is true. It's a game of trust in the end, and we'll have to just wait and see how it goes. But we will be experimenting with watermarks, for example.
In this opposite way of watermarking the sort of camera taken images.
Kind of, this is a real image, yeah.
Well,
for example, Adobe is experimenting these content credentials thing, that if you generate, for example, with the Adobe Firefly, these AI images, it will have this tag like a small a. But Adobe is, of course, in a place that it's a big of a company that a lot of people uses their products, and if a lot of people start using the content credential kind of a tag, and it will be showing the real photographs and AI photographs in the kind of that could be a thing, but unfortunately, to could have a standard in every news outlet that they use one single thing. I think it's impossible.
What about Yle, Päivi? Sorry, HS.
We'll definitely we will tell the readers if we use AI created images, like we do already. If we use images that has been somehow altered for some illustrative purposes, we always tell that this image has been that something has been done to this image by this and that person. It's also a credit thing to tell that who has done what.
I think, Aki, I found it really interesting when you mentioned that you flood the internet basically with conflicting information. But I think with these, like the example that I had of Obama and Merkel running on the beach, totally fake. I could make stories easily. I could write the text in there and plant these stories around the internet, have them in 1,000 different places. How do I know whether that's true or not when it's everywhere? It comes up to my social media. It's in my TikTok. It's in YouTube. How do I know that in a future?
That is a good question. Well, you have to know the source. If it's some random dude posting something on social media, probably you're not going to trust it nowadays either. But in the future, we are probably going to be even more careful who do we trust. But the problem is if somebody who we trust is posting it again, and this has happened. You have seen the picture, like I had the picture of Pope in a winter jacket, or the picture of Trump crying in court. They were really good pictures, and they went through. Even some media thought that they were original and real pictures. So it will be tough. So
what about teenagers? I mean, we kind of know HS, we know Yle. What are they're not. My sons are not necessarily reading your publications. So how do they know what to trust? How do young people know what to trust?
Yeah, I think that's partly our job to teach the kids to how to evaluate what's true and what's not. For example, HS has been doing this Lasten Uutiset children's newspaper, and also children news online, and it's step by step. And of course, schools are doing great work with the media education too. But it's going to be a great job to do, and there's going to be lots of work. But it's not only the kids. I think adults are as easily misled than kids maybe too. So it's like everywhere you have to be careful, and that's actually what journalists have been doing for years, checking the facts. And now it's going to be harder, but we'll manage it somehow. Like you said, that if there's only one source, we never trust just one source, and we need multiple sources. And nothing beats the good old going to the streets. Like journalists cannot just stay in Sanomatalo and sourcing the social media, what's happening. We need to go where things happen, and also check it out. Of course, we cannot be everywhere, but there are news agencies and other sources we can pretty reliable. But yeah, you have to be careful now more than ever. But yeah, we'll have the tools.
I think there could be some kind of like news agencies or newspapers referencing each other, kind of forming this trusted network.
Well, basically, that has happened already decades ago. You have, like you said, there has to be several sources. The core skill for news journalists is to find out is this true, and what does this mean, and who is behind it. That doesn't really change. But you said, what about kids and young people? When we check out all the research done worldwide, there are some really interesting methods they have found. Some are, well, not perhaps that good, and some are actually quite ingenious. For example, in a study we made, young people, when we asked, do you know if this is true? This was some years ago. They used Google to check it out, but not the way older people do. Older people will check it out by Googling and checking, opening links and checking if this source is reliable. Okay, if this source is reliable and saying the same thing, this must be true. Younger people just Googled and checked that, okay, there are so many Google kind of lines of information saying the same thing on the search view. So it probably is true. But for example, in TikTok, if you post something really weird, there are influencers that are scientists and doctors and lawyers and so on. Young people might ask, like, tag the person I trust and know is expert of this thing. Is this true? So people are forming new kind of networks of finding out from reliable sources that has their own image in the game. So if they are posting disinformation, they are going to lose their audience. So this could be, I think media has to be, news media has to be in that game also.
Exactly, so you have to go there. I want to quickly ask, you mentioned the streets, and that kind of reminded me of local news, like here, or maybe news that are produced locally, because now you can get easily translated news from the world, from all over the place. And of course, you don't even have to send photographers there, because you can generate the images from there, but then maybe a little bit different thing. But what happens to writing news here in Finland?
Well, yeah, there are like possibilities and threats, I think. Because, of course, nobody else than us Finns will make news about Finland, and there's lots of happening here. So that's a thing that you cannot get from translated news, like what's happening in Finland. But of course, then again, we have already seen that many small local media, they are suffering. People don't want to buy a subscription for a very small newspaper in some small town, because they feel they don't get maybe enough from their money. because they get almost everything somewhere. But so that can also be a problem also, like in whole Finland. But then again, I don't think that's the main threat, because
maybe we can translate those to all of the languages, all the news that we have from here.
Yeah, maybe
and spread it out.
Yeah, maybe they aren't so interesting for some other people in other countries, but still people like to read local news, and especially in Helsingin Sanomat, for example, we have now stronger local news desk than we had, because people are interested what happens in their local communities. So I think it's the main threat from AI is not the local news or the news in Finland.
And AI is not going to investigate is somebody in northern Finland in small municipality misusing their power. It doesn't have the information. It can't do it. So it's. I hope in the future journalists will do less and less repetitious work and more investigating, talking to people, understanding, getting clues and digging deeper, because AI can work only with the data that it has. That it doesn't have like magical access to every data. Much of the data comes from leaks or having discussions and understanding, having connections to humans, and AI won't have those.
So you do that work, then you write that one story, you push a button and it goes to different channels, Twitters, TikToks, everywhere. You make a video out of it into TikTok and all of that. So we have a couple of minutes time. Do we have any questions from the audience? No questions from the audience. There's one.
Petri from the back road. In the last AI Monday, Mikko Alasarla was there, not here today. And during the break, he was saying that the studies show that within quite soon, like in a couple of years, majority of LinkedIn, Facebook, and other social media channels will be flooded with text and pictures that are generated by AI, commented and liked by AI robots. So scary. What are your opinions? Will this happen, and how can we prevent that?
What does our panel say?
It will be interesting to see if that's appealing to us humans. Do we kind of just leave that kind of place? It could be boring. It would feel like this is run over by bots, and nothing interesting is happening, because we are primates. We are interested in other humans, and we want to use our hands to do stuff. If we automatize everything, our kind of social interaction, we get bored.
Yeah, and like I mentioned in my presentation, that I think that now journalists are needed more than ever to go through all that vast amount of material there to find out what's really interesting and important. But yeah, it seems funny that now GenAI is creating so much text that we need GenAI to then make summaries out of that text. So it's, yeah.
What about Antti?
So I'm looking from the image side, of course, this, and as I said, I kind of wish that it would saturate really fast. The threshold of people getting into AI is getting lower. The user interfaces are getting easier and easier. They are already in the mobile phones. You're able to do whatever I'm creating with the heavy machinery, like here. So I kind of wish that it would saturate, but it's kind of funny because I've been living this for 1.5 years, and I see my colleagues and friends finding some way, courage to test out Midjourney, and after that, you don't see anything but AI pictures from those guys also. So, and they are. I understand how like hooking it is and addictive to kind of find the AI and feel that okay, you're creating these things just a prompt. And for me, it's basically that if you find an AI, it's your first camera in the automatic settings that generates these. But then on the other hand, where I am at the moment is manual control, really delicate machine that I'm able to control to the millimeter what I'm able to do it. So there's also a different range of stuff that you are able to do with the AI. But a lot of people will, in the next half a year, will go there. Kind of all these bigger things, they are coming more accessible, and people are there. So unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of AI stuff coming out of all the social medias, and again, something that I don't necessarily like.
I fully agree on this, but I don't remember who said it, but somebody said about sharing of sort of something. So if we read a book and everybody has a different ending for the book, we can't really talk about it. The same with music generated by AI. Everybody can generate their own music exactly for you in that situation, never again to be heard again. But who do you talk about it? Nobody. And I think that's important for us in all of these things. So yes, they will be flooded with AI. Yes, there will be AI stuff, but we still need that connection, I think. We are over time here, 2 minutes, so I think it's time to end the panel here. Thank you, panelists and presenters, for this evening, and hope to see you next time in AI Monday, where we hope that we can continue the generative AI, but we want to go a little bit towards the industry now. So let's see what we can come up there next time. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.